Welcome back to IGN Deconstructed. My name is Dale, and today, in conjunction with the 63rd Merdeka Day, we're gonna check out the highly anticipated Southeast Asian game, the fully Malaysian-made, the one and only No Straight Roads. Let's check it out. Developed by Metronomik, headed by Wan Hazmi of Final Fantasy 15 fame, tells the story of a rock band called Bunk Bed Junction, with its members Mayday, the guitarist, and Zook, the drummer, as they battle the EDM empire, who are taking control of Vinyl City, which is going through like an energy crisis right now. The whole city is kind of powered by music. If you have music, you can create this energy source called Kwasa. So the EDM empire is sort of like an evil record label. Think of it as this evil conglomerate of artists who are in charge of determining who gets to be in their ranks. So at the start of the game, you'll see Bunk Bed Junction, Zook and Mayday. They are going for an audition to join this organization, which they call NSR. They try and audition. They're playing rock music. Even though this is an EDM-based empire, they play rock. They produce enough Kwasa, and yet they don't pass the audition. So from there, they decide if you can't join them, beat them. So Mayday and Zook are on a mission to defeat all 6 members of NSR and take control back to the people of Vinyl City. Presentation-wise, the game is very striking for sure. I mean, from the very expressive characters, how they move with the music. So the game is technically a rhythm action game, but you don't really necessarily have to keep in time with the music. For example, certain enemies could be bouncing here and there, and one could be attacking on the first beat, and the other one might be attacking on the third beat. Sure, if you're more musically inclined, that could be easier for you to kind of dodge their attacks and do one of your own, but otherwise, it's fine. You can totally play the game on mute if you have to. You shouldn't, because the music's great. When you fight, there's a meter, there's a rock EDM meter. As Mayday and Zook damage the enemy more, it'll bounce up to rock. So the soundtrack will actually get even more rockier. If the enemy is winning, then it'll go to the EDM side, which is bad for you because they're winning. So they have this dynamic soundtrack that changes how you play. When you go back to fight these bosses, because technically that's the game, right? It's kind of like a boss rush. You go through these stages and you fight bosses one by one. So even when you go back, you can actually change the soundtrack that really changes the way you fight these enemies as well. Just a little bit. Presentation-wise is great. Sometimes the cutscenes could be in 3D with the characters expressing themselves. Usually, there'll be a mix of like a text box with the characters talking, which is great as well because just the way they're posed is just incredible. It's fun. And sometimes it's animated in 2D, especially in the middle segments after you beat a boss. There'll be these news segments, like the news reporters of Vinyl City will actually kind of report on what you've been doing. So yeah, overall presentation is just top-notch in this game. Voice acting-wise, it's quite a range of different kind of voices you'll hear. Even the NPCs are quite expressive in their voice acting. Now, I know we just kind of interviewed the voices of Mayday and Zook, Suling Chan and Stephen Bones, and they did a phenomenal job at it. They really brought these characters to life.
Bunk Bed Junction. And we're here to bring back rock. We're not stopping till we claim our fame.
And bring change to the system.
Yeah, that too.
Alright, gameplay-wise, so it is a rhythm action game, but it's sort of also an action platformer in that sense. So as you progress through the game, there's not as many platforming challenges per se, but you do unlock like a double jump or an air dash, which does help you get into certain places, help you get even more Kwasa around the hub world, and kind of just dodge enemy attacks way better. So most of the time you'll be fighting these giant bosses basically. They all move different in accordance with the genre they kind of dictate. Like the first boss, DJ Subatomic Supernova. He's a massive DJ, full-on EDM. That's translated in the gameplay where his battle is like a giant turntable in itself, but he has these giant planets rotating around it, and you gotta try and beat him the best you can while avoiding these things. So Mayday and Zook, you can either play single player and switch around, or you could play in 2-player mode where one player plays as Mayday, one player plays as Zook. Mayday is full-on melee. She uses her guitar to attack. She does come with extra skills like this boomerang thing or the ability to heal herself, but she's probably your main attacker. So the way I customize her is that I make her full-on the tank. You know, she has 20% more health, 20% more melee damage. That's how I use Mayday. While Zook, on the other hand, when you do his combos and finishes, you actually have to use it like how you beat a drum. You'll pop, pop, pop. You gotta do it on beat. You start off with 3 beats, but after that it grows to 5 and even more. So he's a little bit more complex, so I kind of use him more for healing purposes and other buffs that you can do. So needless to say, No Straight Roads is probably the most Malaysian game out there. So what do I mean by that? Well, I want to call back to one of the interviews I did with Wan Hazmi about last year. So as a Malaysian game creator and kind of the figurehead here for game developers in Malaysia, he always mentions that he's sick of people pitching games to him as Hang Tuah but Uncharted. You know, mixing something that is somewhat cliched, a Malaysian cliche, and just kind of spinning it with modern game mechanics, and he hates that. He says that being Malaysian doesn't just mean our traditions, our traditional dress, our old folk heroes and all that. No, being Malaysian kind of just means so much more. It's like the food we eat, the trains we take to work, you know, the music we listen to. There's a lot of things that make us Malaysians beside our inherited culture. And I gotta say, Wan Hazmi and his team really nail it. They really kind of encapsulate what it means to be Malaysian in a sense with No Straight Roads. Okay, so take Bunk Bed Junction's base of operations, their hideout, which is in the sewers underneath Vinyl City. So when you come out from the sewers, immediately there's a mamak stall there. There's this auntie that sells food and drinks all through the night to everybody in that city, and it's great. Like, we have those in real life. There's also the collectible kuasa that you use to power the city up. Kuasa actually does mean power in Bahasa Malaysia, so there's a nice little pun there. In any case, the team at Metronomik, they kind of encapsulate this Malaysianness with a very common sentiment here. We call it rojak. Now, rojak is a national dish that you can find anywhere in Malaysia. It's a dish where anything goes. You can put squid, you can put fruits, you can put vegetables. Everything's just mixed in. So we kind of use it as a euphemism for Malaysians as a whole. Because since we are so mixed in culture, in race, in languages, we are rojak. And No Straight Roads perfectly encapsulates this whole rojak sentiment. So like the characters, Mayday and Zook, sometimes while you're fighting the bad guys, if they get hurt, they'll say things like alamak or adoy, which is something, you know, we all say. I guess the biggest example is with this character called DK West. Now that's a pun on DK Barat, which is this traditional dance that you can find in Malaysia. He raps in the DK Barat style in a way. He's also the only character that will fully speak in Malay. If you play the English dub, he will fully speak in Malay. Even though everybody else around him speaks English, he will vehemently speak Bahasa Malaysia throughout the whole thing. And his boss fight is special because they kind of use shadow puppetry. It's a nice break in the game. It's not really a spoiler. You'll find it right in the middle of the game, actually. It is Independence Day right now. So 63 years ago, you know, brave Malaysians fought for our independence. And in No Straight Roads, this tiny indie rock band is trying to fight a giant empire just so they can save themselves, save their city, and in a way gain independence as well. So in that sense, it's sort of the perfect game to play during this Independence Day. So in that sense, I really hope you guys try this game out. Play it with your best friend or your significant loved one and just play through it together. It's a fun game. So before I cap off this video, I want to go with a personal anecdote. So back when Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive came out in theaters, as a student, I went to watch it because I was a fan of Final Fantasy. And throughout the whole movie, there was like these people who were like discussing the movie. It's like they knew what was going on. So at the end, when the lights came on, I realized Wan Hazmi and his team, the Malaysian team that worked on Final Fantasy, was there. So after the film, I approached him, I shook his hand, I took a picture with him, and I said, you know, it's really cool that you worked on Final Fantasy, and I'm so proud of you. And yeah, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. And he said, yeah, you too, man. Take care. You know, back in 2016, I don't think I knew that I was gonna be in IGN. And I don't think at the time, Wan Hazmi knew he was gonna make No Straight Roads. So it's kind of funny how it all worked out, because after that, I became a games journalist, and No Straight Roads immediately was one of the games that I had to cover. I even went all the way to Tokyo Game Show to play it, and even played it at Level Up right here in Malaysia. Ever since becoming a games journalist, I have talked to him in a multitude of times. You know, I've interviewed him. I mean, if you've seen our house calls and a couple of articles, I've talked to him many times, and it's always a delight. So it wasn't a straight road for me and Wan Hazmi to kind of get to where we are. So I kind of see this game as a symbol of that. So I will always hold this game near and dear to my heart because of that. And to top it all off, there really isn't any other game that is as rhythmically charged, as fun and just colorful, and as Malaysian as No Straight Roads. So for this Independence Day, hope you guys try it out. I'm Dale, and this has been IGN Deconstructed. Catch you guys next time.